All right, guys, thank you so much and welcome to United and Everything Football. This is episode 6, part 2. Remember, if you've not watched part 1 of this episode 6, please go back to our YouTube channel. The part 1 is there and enjoy everything that we discussed there with our special guest, Yao Posula Abi Kawawa of TV3. So, as usual, I do it with Kwame Chukwuetiako, my co-host and my panelist. As usual, what do we tell you? Remember to hit what? The subscribe button every single time, and also hit the notification bell so that anytime we drop a new episode, you'll be notified and you'd have the opportunity to watch all the beautiful contents that we've put together for you. So guys, welcome once again. This is part 2 of our episode 6. Now we are going to look at something very interesting. But guys, let me quickly welcome you once again. Kwame, how are you doing? I'm sure we are getting into a very interesting zone where I see you have a very different view from Kawa's view with regards to our coach. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Kawa, how
this is going to be some episode. It's going to be some episode.
I'm good.
Good to know. All right, so guys, we'll be back after this break. Please stay with us. Okay, guys, we are back. So this is part 2 of episode 6 of United and Everything Football. So it's been over 1 year since Erik Ten Hag took charge as United coach. Since then, before Ten Hag took over, it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had to leave at some point for Ralf Rangnick to come and do his caretaker job. Unfortunately, that season ended with a huge disaster. So Erik came in and then, had to put things in order, try to, get things going. But clearly, when he took over, United had to, bring back United into the Champions League. We won or ended our trophy drought after 6 seasons. Now, Kwame Entry, I'll start with you. You have been with the school that thinks that Ten Hag has been, he has done his bits so far. He started laying the blocks with regards to what he's trying to do with the club. Kawawa is of a different opinion. Let me start with you. What do you make of Ten Hag's time with the club so far, and where do you think he's taking us as a club?
All right, so I think he's done a good job. I think he's done a good job, a satisfactory job. Everybody knows what Manchester United's standards actually are. Growing up, all we've known is Manchester United should be competing for the league title every season, should be winning trophies every season. If you look at the past 10 years, right, it's been hell. There's no better word to actually describe it. There's been ups and downs. We've not been able to get any form of consistency. Yeah. And it got to a point where even winning trophies, winning silverware became a big problem. Getting top 4 positions became our new targets. We never ever aimed to properly challenge for the Premier League title. He's been in charge for a season now, and he managed to end our trophy droughts. Many people say a lot of things about the Carabao Cup. It was even easy to win. A team like Tottenham would have won and probably held a parade. But then, see, a trophy is a trophy. It's a major trophy nonetheless. He managed to annex that, got us to a cup final, another cup final. That's the FA Cup final. We lost narrowly to City. And at a point in time last season, we're really up there in terms of, trying to battle it out with Manchester City and Arsenal for the title. But then we fell off. We fell off for obvious reasons. We had we needed certain players in our squad to be able to help us kick on, like in terms of the challenge, but then we just didn't have the men. He's had another summer window and he's been able to add up onto the squad. We haven't started as well as we should have, but let's remember that last season, we got off to an even worse start. And by mid-season, there was even noise of a title challenge. So the first couple of weeks doesn't define the season. That's just what I would say. Many people are skeptical about the style of play, which I'm sure Yao would speak about. But then I think it's a work in progress. The more types of players that he gets, the better he'll be able to implement the style of play that he wants.
I mean,
so yeah, it's been okay.
I mean, still, I want to stay with you. You talk about the style of play. Last season, many people kept, asking, what is our style of play? We started the season, played 2 games, tried to build from the back. We learned it the hard way that we didn't have a goalkeeper, or we didn't have the set of players to be able to, progress the ball, or what we refer to as the first phase build-up. We couldn't do it properly because the goalkeeper didn't have the skill sets to be able to hold on to the ball and do that. So right after the third game against Liverpool, we get the ball, we go long. We get the ball, we go long. Contest for the second balls and hope that we could do something with it. So clearly there was an issue with what style are we actually playing and all of that. Now, before the start of this season, he was very emphatic, and he's been very emphatic in all the interviews that he's granted, saying that he's looked at the history of the club, he's looked at the quality of his players, and decided that United should play transition football. Now, where exactly are we headed? From the games that we've played so far this season, from pre-season to the 4th game we've played this season, where have we been, Kwame? Before I get to Carl,
I don't read too much into pre-season, so I'd just look at the first 4 games that we've played so far. The first thing I'll say is it's a very small sample size. We still have to give it a bit more time, and we also have had a lot of injuries to start the season, so he hasn't had the opportunity to put his strongest 11 on the football pitch. Rasmus Højlund was actually signed with an injury. He's going to be his main number 9. Mason Mount played a couple of games and he's out with injury. Who knows? Sofian Amrabat, his last signing, may actually be a mainstay in the team, and that also changes the dynamic of our play. So I just feel we should, just as we did last season, we should give it a bit more time, because we didn't start off well last season, but by the middle of the season, you cannot tell me you did not see a certain style of play, a certain pattern of play. You don't win as many games as he actually did. Play over 60 games, win 68, 70% of those games if you don't actually know what you're doing. You don't win a trophy if you don't know what you're actually doing. You don't get to cup finals if you don't know what you're actually trying to play. So he's brought in a goalkeeper who can play out of the back. It did show in the Arsenal game that we were comfortable actually playing out of the back. The problem was moving the ball from the first phase of play through the midfield into the offensive phase of play. You did not see that transition. It wasn't fluid. But then I feel you give it more time, you give it more of his players into like actually fit and playing into the team. With time, we should be able to see exactly what he wants to implement.
Yeah. Where do we stand? What are you not seeing?
Number one, I honestly think that what is happening at Chelsea should be what is happening to Ten Hag, and what is happening to Pochettino at Chelsea should be happening to him at United. My biggest problem with Erik Ten Hag has been the kind of players that he brings into the club.
Okay.
The thing is, I mean, there's always the talk that, oh, he wants these players because he wants to play a certain kind of way and whatever. And these players come in and we're not seeing what style of play this guy wants to play. I mean, that you brought in Antony for so much money and very, very little output. And I don't think anybody is happy about what Antony does in the United shirt.
Right.
Exactly. For someone like Malacia, for instance, this guy comes in and I mean he's played a big part role. I can't even remember these signings, to be honest.
Lisandro Martinez.
Casemiro, Eriksen, Martinez.
Lisandro Martinez, good player. I mean, we needed him. We needed Casemiro. For Eriksen, I think that we've also laid a lot of burden on him for someone at his age and with his medical condition and all of that. But also, I just want to say that, you know, the style of play aside and all of that, the thing is that Carabao Cup win has brought Erik Ten Hag a lot of credit in the bank. And is the reason why there are people who just can't criticize him because, okay, he's ended 6 years of a trophy drought. But you see, my biggest problem is if we are not playing properly, if there's no style of play, you can't see it, and you win a trophy. What then comes of it in the next 2-3 years? Are we still going to play this way? What's going to happen? And I think that these are questions that need to be asked. You understand? The fact that you are questioning the coach in the club does not mean that you don't like the club or you don't like the coach or whatever. It only goes to show that these are questions that need to be asked. You understand? I mean, there are many people who could see the progress, but if I'm not seeing it, I'm going to ask questions. And for instance, because if we are coming off the back of someone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who everybody agrees that he was definitely not up to the task, and this guy who we claim is up to the task is not playing the football remotely close to what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was giving us at United, then there are going to be question marks over what kind of football he wants to play. And that's also another thing. And I just feel like there are certain stages of a game where sometimes he throws the game away. And last season against Sevilla I think that was my breaking point, really, because I felt like we were going to go straight to the Europa League final and win it, when we actually had Sevilla in a home game.
Yes.
And we could have beaten them 5-6 and actually just relaxed and gone to the Sanchez Pizjuan and gotten maybe a draw and gone through, but it just couldn't happen. And so there are certain things that he needs to fix. He has been very headstrong about some of the things that he wants to do at the club. Now he has a goalkeeper who is press resistant. He can do whatever he wants. You can't get the ball off his feet. But you see, the moment he gives the ball to the midfielders, the moment he gives the ball to the defenders, which is the first line, the ball doesn't progress. It doesn't go to the attackers the way you'd want it to go. So then what is happening? And in this case, you have players like Casemiro, Eriksen, who he brought in to do that job for him. So if it's still not working, then there's something wrong. You understand?
Yeah.
Is it that he's not teaching them the right things to do? And like I said earlier in the first part of this series, many of these players are just not comfortable on the ball. And if you want to play possessive football, if you want to play the kind of football where the keeper gets the ball, comfortably passes, and it goes to the different faces to the attackers, then these are players who should be very comfortable on the ball. So it makes me ask, what kind of ball work are these guys doing in training? And what is he teaching these players, with the kind of philosophy that he wants to have them playing the way they want to play? I don't think Erik ten Hag is a bad coach. I think that he is good. He could potentially get the club to a certain level, but I feel like some of the things that we need to see need to be fast-tracked. And that is really where I am at this moment. If we are able to fast-track some of these things, then we can actually get, a better place to be at. Because especially with the signings, now Mason Mount is in here, and we are all thinking, Mason Mount has given us the Havertz conundrum at Arsenal. We are all thinking, what is Mason Mount going to do? Is Mason Mount ever going to get better? Is Mason Mount going to do this? It's still early days. It's 4 games. But off the back of 4 games, for a guy who has played in this league for a really long time, you'd expect that he just hits it running. And also for a coach like him, with a guy who has played in the league for a long time playing under you should just hit the ground running. But I mean, there are still a lot of things that are not going this way. So I just hope that things work out.
To chip in this, especially on Mason Mount, I want to ask you 2 questions. First, I want to ask, what do you see when you see us play? Like, I mean, what actually comes? Do you see us like a disjointed team, or a team that clearly doesn't know what it's doing on the pitch? I mean, what do you see when you watch us play?
It has felt like that this season. The first game against Wolves, it felt like a disjointed team that really didn't know what they were doing. And I was actually shocked because at preseason, we played well. And preseason gave me a bit of hope. So how do you then come into the first game of the season and it's like you've undone everything you did in preseason? It was worrying. Now the next game of the season was Spurs. And then we go to Spurs and it looked like nothing worked. The thing is that at Spurs, everything could have changed if we had actually taken our chances.
Yeah.
We didn't take those chances, we were punished. But after the goal, and that's also another thing for me, there's always an instance where after the goal, the shoulders drop, everybody just drops.
Yeah.
You just can tell that the level has dropped with the way we were playing before.
Yeah.
If we score first, you can comfortably say United will go on to win it. But then if United concede a goal first, everybody drops. And the question is, how is he going to solve a problem like that where the shoulders just drop? Because yesterday, for instance, when Declan Rice's goal entered, you could just tell, because there was still time.
Yeah.
A normal United team, the United team of old, 2-1 with 7 minutes to go.
Never give
you
up.
Still would never give up. You still have some
football heritage.
Exactly. You still have that thing in your heart that, oh, we are gonna go there and take them on. But after I went in, everybody just dropped, and you just felt that a level had dropped in the team.
Yes.
And it has happened consistently in Erik ten Hag's time here. And it's the reason why our away form has been so poor.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do to solve some of these things? These are the things that I really want to see.
I think these are very legitimate questions. But Kwame, it brings us to a discussion we had last week concerning our away form against the top 6 side, top 10. I think it was a top 10 size. From the start from last season against the top 10 size, we managed to beat just Fulham. And that one, they had to take that last minute goal from Alejandro.
So Kwame, sorry to cut you, but imagine if we had won 4 or 5 out of those games. Imagine where it would have taken us in the league table.
Yes,
exactly.
That would have put
you
us
understand? And there are certain teams there that we should be beating. I mean,
Absolutely.
Why are we not beating Villa at Villa Park? Or why are we not beating Brighton at Amex?
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, Kwame, let's get to that. Yao has raised some very legitimate points, especially with, talking about the away form. That's what I want us to discuss right now. I look at games at EtH, games at Anfield. One thing I notice is that when we just drop badly. Looking at the game at the EtH, at Anfield, at Brentford, these are games we should have easily. Even a game against Spurs, where we were leading by 2-0 last season, and then Spurs came from behind to get to level the game at that point. I don't know what you make of it. It's a very worrying situation for me, as we discussed last week. How do we address this? How do we address this issue? Because the coach has said that we lack personality. We lack the personality when we go into our away games. And I'm like, he should be questioning himself. He should look at himself, because sometimes when we drop, he just drops and he doesn't know what to do. He looks like a man who is out of his depth.
All right. So there are many points that Yao raised that I do not agree with. But then there's one point that I totally do agree with. That's when it comes to the coach talking about the attitude of the players. When you question the attitude of your players, yet result after results, your players just drop when the going gets tough, especially on the road. It gets to a point where, like you just said, it's not just about the players. The question is, what are you doing about the situation as a coach yourself to remedy the problem? When you go to tough away grounds, it's not just about tactics. It's mainly about the character of your players. You expect your players to stand up to the challenge. So he keeps talking about that when things go wrong, that the players did not show the character that they are supposed to actually show when things start to go wrong. They just switch off completely. But then it gets to a point where he has to take some form of responsibility for that. So that's one major criticism that I have of him.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like how I said, we are questioning the type of players that he's bringing in. When you're bringing in players, it's not just about the ability on the ball, right? It's not just about the ability to get the ball, receive the ball from the back, and know what to do with the ball in midfield and in attack. We're talking about knowing the personality of these players as well, because he speaks about the personality of Antony, the personality of Martinez. They just don't bring just footballing ability. They bring character into the team. Casemiro, for instance.
Yes.
So you expect these players to be able to, know what to do when the going gets tough. One thing I would say is, back to the recruitment point, I would say I do not want to question the decisions of any manager when it comes to the type of players that he wants.
Yeah.
Rather, what I do want is the club to always back the manager to get the players that he wants.
Yeah.
So that when things go to, we can't
south,
swear on the show.
we can...
when things go south, thank you. When things go south, we can all go like, you know what, you were backed, you got all the backing that you. I don't want the manager to come and make these hooligan and social excuses that I wanted Haaland and I wanted Bellingham and I didn't get. And Jose Mourinho said I wanted Perisic instead of Martial, and then blah, blah. And then we've all heard about the runs that Louis van Gaal has made in the past concerning the kind of players that he wanted. The likes of Mane and blah, blah, blah. I don't want that with Erik ten Hag. I feel he has been backed, and I feel he should continue to get the backing that he wants to be able to overhaul the squad, to be able to look like his team. I feel if he gets his team, all the pieces come together. It's not just about having certain players in certain positions. It's about having all your pieces fitting together as pieces of a puzzle. And once it comes together, I expect a certain type of football on the football pitch.
All right.
So until then, I look at our squad right now, I go like, there are still certain positions that need to be augmented. Certain players really shouldn't be there. Let's admit it. What does Harry Maguire offer? We tried offloading him this summer and that didn't happen. Antony Martial as a backup, probably even as a main number 9, what's he going to offer you?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Jadon Sancho isn't his signing. He's been an absolute liability, despite being somebody who should be challenging strongly for a starting role in the squad. So I feel there's just a few more places where if he gets backing and he makes those changes, it all comes together. I take a cue from Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Mikel Arteta, when he started off, bought some time by winning the FA Cup. I'm going back to Carval's point about Erik ten Hag buying time by winning the Carabao Cup. You buy time by actually showing that you can get your club to where they used to be.
Yeah.
Show that ambition of actually winning trophies again and actually competing for titles. When you show that, you kind of deserve backing. You kind of deserve more time, more patience from the fan base. So yes, he has bought himself time by winning a trophy, but then now he has to be backed over the hill like Arteta was. Arteta started buying players that people, including Arsenal fans, used to question, why the hell is he buying this person? And why is he getting rid of Aubameyang? And why is he getting rid of Lacazette? And certain huge personalities in the squad. We can juxtapose the two situations. They're quite similar.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when he got rid of who he needed to get rid of and shape the squad in a way that he actually wants, we saw the outcome last season in terms of their actual style of play and delivery on the football pitch.